Alright guys, I know I said in my last video that we were going to finally cover something besides Dragon Age Veilguard, but holy crap, there has been more information that's come out, as well as some information about Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I find to be absolutely hilarious. So we're going to dive right into this. So recently, within the last day, it was revealed by Smash JT that Endymion was actually getting a lot of his information as far as inside information from BioWare from a source that Smash JT had inside the company. And the things that he shared were absolutely mind-blowing. Essentially, this is what you would imagine is going on in every corporation, in every AAA studio across America, where they are pushing this DEI initiative so far that if you are a straight white male, good luck getting a job, good luck getting hired, good luck not getting ostracized and pushed out of the company, essentially, because these people, these absolute insane activists have taken control, they've taken over the studios, and they are basically just pushing their agenda into every nook and cranny of every game possible, and they're not going to stop until everybody basically accepts this as the new normal. So of course, there's a lot of information that you can go over in this article. I'll try to link it down below. But we've seen also a lot of pushback from, of course, Reddit of all places against the criticism of this game. Archer, the dev from Soulash and Soulash 2, pointing out that Asmongold and everyone subbed to Asmongold's Reddit are apparently auto-banned from the Reddit for Dragon Age. Mentioning Soulash on Art Roguelikes is also auto-filtered. Again, this man dealing with suppression on Reddit due to the fact that he denounced people trying to strong-arm him into putting things in his game that he did not want to put in. He then says, remember Godot's preemptive mass blocking on X? There's a pattern showing LGBTQ creates hate through discrimination and censorship, and I think he is dead on with that. Like I've said before, the alphabet mafia, as I call them, no, it has nothing to do with whether or not you are gay or bisexual or whatever. It is purely these people who act as a mafia, act as a group of enforcers to push an agenda into whatever topic it is at hand that they want to see more representation in. So of course, maybe they preemptively blocked Asmongold because they knew clips like this would come out. I don't know.
Should I do it? I mean, every single option makes me transgender. There's no option not to be transgender. It says makes me trans. This one does, and this one. I don't know why I have to be trans, guys. I can't. Guys, I don't know what to do. Forced trans.
And of course, I have not played the game myself. I don't know how much of that is hyperbole or if he is truly locked into a position where he has to make his character transgender. But again, we have seen so much gaslighting and pushback and astroturfing by the media, and of course the shills out there trying to make this game seem like it's the bigger hit than it really is. PlayStation Lifestyle here going on the attack, saying Dragon Age the Veilguard off to a good start amid troll attacks, and then locking the replies in the Twitter post, sharing the article. So again, never a good look. Of course, we have seen Jason Schreier, of all people. I'm pretty sure he has most of us. If you are watching this video and you agree with half the things I say, he probably has you pre-blocked on Twitter. Packer Girl saying, Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier says, go woke, go broke, go to the top of the charts. I actually don't like Dragon Age the Veilguard very much, but I do like seeing you chuds get dunked on. The funniest thing is, we'll get into this in a minute, about how this game is not the own that they all think it is, and yet they act like somehow they have this gigantic victory and they're all celebrating, taking a victory lap, saying, yeah, we owned the chuds. It's pretty hysterical. Sid Alpha pointing out that VGC said that Dragon Age the Veilguard has debuted at the top of Steam's top seller chart, breaking BioWare's record for concurrent players on the platform. Ironically, the previous record, I believe, was one of the Jedi Survivor games. And of course, it didn't even have that many people playing it before. It was decent numbers. So they essentially broke the record because they had one other game that had a record. So it's like, okay, so now these two games are first and second, no big deal. But Sid Alpha says, yet another intellectually dishonest headline. It's as if the journos all had a meeting or a collective spot or something. Cough, cough, you know? Because we all know that they all talk behind the scenes. This is just the way they go. When we saw them sharing that phrase, return to form for BioWare, it indicated that everybody was essentially marching to the beat of the same drum, if you will. But at least there are still a few decent journalists out there. Eric Kane from Forbes putting out this article a couple days after he started playing the game, basically admitting, yeah, you know, my initial impression of the game was that it was very good. I didn't see too much of this crap as a big problem. The woke stuff doesn't bother me. You know, he's a liberal guy, so he's very much for representation, and he doesn't get bothered by that kind of stuff. Okay, fair enough. But then he had to come back and criticize and said, look, I didn't see this crap when I first reviewed it. This is pretty bad. So his article here on Forbes says Dragon Age the Veilguard's clumsy, preachy political messaging does more harm than good. And this poor man is probably getting completely blasted on Twitter right now by the woke activists, by all the lefties who are just going to be reeing at him in the comments. But again, he points out here, he says, I had not yet arrived at a certain section of the game that has now been making the rounds on social media, being roundly and rightfully mocked. Unfortunately, the scene in question will play directly into the narrative that this game is, quote, woke, feeding a cycle of online discourse that goes nowhere but earns a lot of clicks. It will undoubtedly turn many gamers off entirely, not necessarily because they're unsympathetic to trans rights, but because they're tired of being preached at. In the scene in question, one character misgenders another. To atone for this sin, she does a set of push-ups and then lectures the other characters on how to properly apologize. The term non-binary is thrown around, despite this being a word that very few people had even heard of when Dragon Age Inquisition came out a decade ago, let alone in a fantasy setting divorced entirely from the real world. And again, this hits right to the heart of the issue, that people who are trying to escape to a fantasy world and not deal with modern-day terminology and all of this crap with all the pronoun nonsense and gender identity issues have to have this crammed into their games. Now, something that Seven Face Sin on Twitter pointed out yesterday, which I found very fascinating, was that according to the community hub on Steam, only 43% of players had gotten through Part 1. He then said only 6% had gotten past Part 2 of Dragon Age Veilguard. I don't want to hear I'm taking my time exploring. There's no exploring. I watched Real Hypnotic blast through linearly. I wonder what the refund numbers are, and unfortunately, I don't know that we can officially confirm refund numbers. I saw somebody share it on Twitter yesterday. I cannot confirm that what I saw was real, but what I can look at is today this updated community hub here with the total achievements shown. And as you can see, 77.5% got past Part 1. You get down to Part 2 and there's only 53% completed. Part 3, 43%. Down to Part 4, only 21% have completed. Now again, it definitely dwindles off the further down you go. All the way down to Part 7, only 3.5% have completed. And as if according to this list, between Part 9 and 12, nobody except for 0.2% have finished any of that. So very curious if a lot of these people checked it out for an hour and a half, refunded the game, played it through EA Play, the Pro membership, and then, essentially just canceled their membership after they got a chance to play it. Who knows what these numbers actually show? But one of the things I've noticed, a lot of the discourse around this game is the obsession with the hairstyles. And the funniest part is, I see these posts on Twitter, Dragon Age the Veilguard has at least 25 plus black hairstyles. And sure, you can scroll through this post here, and there are so many of them, and they made sure to take the time to make them all wavy and go overboard with the hair graphics. The funniest part is you'll see the responses from some of these people down here is exactly what you'd expect. One guy saying, this is probably going to piss them off, LMAO. Another person saying, don't let the incels know, they'll be bitching in no time. Of course, you have a lot of people saying, hey, at least we don't have the Killmonger cut anymore. But what I found fascinating was the fact that Vera Dark said in her stream tonight that apparently if you wanted to play somebody with just long straight hair, there was like 3 options, but they made sure to focus on having 26 different black hairstyles. Very curious choice. And again, this goes back to something we saw from an article from The Verge a couple of years ago about Elden Ring and how Ash Parrish, one of the activists at The Verge, had to attack this game for not having, quote, enough black hair representation. These people are absolutely insane. But of course, what we are seeing now is that the Dragon Age numbers, people who are actually playing this game still, have not done what they thought they would. We are seeing much smaller numbers in the first 2 days than they would like to expect. And unfortunately for them, they try to sell this as a win. But if you look at the updated numbers today, it was around 50,000 just an hour ago. Currently on a Friday night, the current players playing this game on Steam are sitting at 47,000, has not peaked past 77,000 in the last 8 hours. And again, not a small number of people, and this does not account for the amount of people playing it on console. However, the issue is that this is a game that you could argue probably costs $200 to $300 million minimum. They're not going to make their money back selling a couple 100,000 copies on Steam. They're just not, it's not possible. It's not physically, financially possible. What is also funny to me is that there is another game that's out right now that is destroying this game despite having massive issues, according to some articles, with graphics and connection issues, and that is Monster Hunter Wilds beta test that is currently available for free. And the numbers that this game is pulling are absolutely astronomical despite graphical issues and, again, performance issues on PC. People are struggling with like horrible polygons, unable to connect to servers, making the game look absolutely dreadful. And yet there are still currently, at this moment right now, 167,000 people playing this game for free. And yes, you shouldn't compare apples to oranges. I get it. One game's free, one game's $60. But if you do recall, Concord had a whopping 1,800 people join up for its free open beta. And this game here had 463,000 at peak yesterday, absolutely destroying this game. I mean, Monster Hunter Wilds comes out in February, and there's no doubt in my mind that this game is going to bury most of the other games that come out that month. Last but not least of those games is, of course, Assassin's Creed Shadows. And now there's a new article out today from Assassin's Creed Shadows talking about the devastating impact of the diversity and inclusivity backlash. So now, once again, just like the Dragon Age gaslighting we're seeing from the media, we are seeing gaslighting on another level by, of course, the Assassin's Creed boss, talking about this game and how essentially it's just the evil bigots that forced this game to get delayed, and all the discussion around this game is just being controlled by a bunch of toxic trolls. So this article from Eurogamer says Assassin's Creed franchise boss Mark Alexis Cote has addressed the online backlash which has swirled around the main characters of Assassin's Creed Shadows, the subsequent impact it has had on the game's development staff, and the attempts by bad faith commenters to disrupt and dissuade creative teams from telling stories featuring diverse and inclusive characters in general. Now, I'm going to focus on one thing real quick. We have yet to have a Japanese samurai assassin. That's diverse. Why could we have not had that? They want to talk about diversity and inclusivity. Going to Japan and having a samurai assassin would have been diverse and inclusive, but for some weird reason, Japanese people are the other white meat, and apparently that means that they are not diverse, according to these weirdos. So, discussing the current shifting cultural landscape, Cote described the current discussions around representation and inclusivity in media as an additional and previously unforeseen challenge. These conversations can influence how our games are perceived, but rather than shy away from these conversations, we should see them as an opportunity, he explained. Assassin's Creed has always been about exploring the full spectrum of human history, and by its very nature, the history is diverse. Staying true to history means embracing the richness of human perspectives without compromise. For example, in Assassin's Creed Shadows, we highlight figures, both fictional like Naoe and a Japanese woman warrior, and historical like Yasuke, the African-born samurai. While the inclusion of a black samurai in feudal Japan has sparked questions and even controversy, Naoe as a fictional character has also faced scrutiny for her gender. But just as Yasuke's presence in Japanese history is fact, so too are the stories of women who defied societal expectations and took up arms in times of conflict. So while both Naoe and Yasuke's stories are works of historical fiction, they reflect the collision of different worlds, cultures, and roles, and their inclusion is precisely the kind of narrative that Assassin's Creed Shadows seeks to tell, one that reflects the complexity and interconnectedness of our shared history. And they are being absolutely destroyed in the replies. People saying, why can't they just admit they chose the historical fan fiction because it was performative? John Trent saying, imagine admitting this divisive agenda you're peddling is devastating to the company and that the games it's making, and then it's not just doubling down, but basically declaring war on your customers. It's just absolutely mind-blowing. Base Player says, it's time to stand firm. You've been standing firm in your own ignorance for far too long. It's time to listen to gamers. And of course, Endymion dunking on them, saying, Ubisoft, you guys are dummies. People don't like Shadows because you're using it for ESG. Stop lying. Yasuke was never a samurai. You guys got bamboozled by some white guy who wrote fan fiction about him and sold you a lie. And Naoe would never be a shinobi. The entire concept of female ninjas is fiction. It was popularized by famous Japanese novelists. The entire foundation of both your protagonists in the game are ridiculous. So yeah, my prediction is that Monster Hunter Wilds will absolutely bury both these games. It'll dominate the Steam charts for the next 6 to 8 months most likely. But let me know what you guys think about all this down below, and I will catch you on the next one. Alright, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for being here. I do have 2 channels, Minimal Effort Podcast as well as my gaming channel. I do have a Twitch and Kick for my gaming channel. We do live streams over there occasionally, maybe once a week. And then if you are in the market for a new PC, make sure to check out Meta PCs. Click the link I have down below. Use code TBO at checkout for a special discount. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.